Thank you, Asha and Ballu, for that. So the thing is, you're right. The book is for anybody in any sector who starts from possibly a junior level and wanting to move up to the senior most level in that institution or organization or government or whatever you want to, define it as. I start by defining a dilemma. And I remember when I was thinking of the book, I thought of career temptations. And I remember, in Chennai, being in Indra's house over a cup of tea, and we were tossing around the thing. And then I recognized that temptation sounded actually sinful. Okay, a dilemma is one where you have two attractive alternatives. Okay, should I go abroad or should I stay with my current company in the country where I'm doing well? That's a dilemma. Okay, should I switch a job to a better company for a better salary or stay in the current company where I have equity? That's a dilemma. So a dilemma is one where you have two attractive alternatives and then you're forced to choose between two very good alternatives. So that's how I defined it, and that's where I started. Having put the book out now, a friend of mine told me that his wife read the book and his wife said, now I understand what you go through at work. And I promise you that I will be far more supportive of the discussions that we have now than ever before. So that was an unintended consequence of that. Okay. Next is, I've interviewed 24 people in this book to put out their story and what they went through as they faced the dilemma. And all their friends who've read the stories or their stories have said, wow, we never knew this about you. This is a completely new facet of you, which we've completely discovered thanks to this book. So that was another offshoot. I think Janak Shah, the director of IIM Udaipur, said this, and he said it nicely. He said, this will really help me understand my students and their fascination with money as a variable compared to anything else. He said, nothing has explained this more simpler than this shift to me, to really understand why the millennials are chasing money at this point of time. So it's had many offshoots, but the book is intended for anybody in the course of a career. You go through this dilemma and what's the best way to think about it. And more important, there are real life examples of people who've gone through it from whom you can take inspiration.
Let's start at the beginning of a career. All of us having been to management schools, there's always the first question about, okay, what kind of job are you going to apply for? So is that first job the most important step in your life? Is that the first choice that you make? Is it really as much of a make or break situation as people make it out to be? Or can you change your mind at some other point and say, oops, that really wasn't where I should have been? So can you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think the first job is a very important job, but I wouldn't say it's a make or break. I think you can do a lot more beyond your first job. If you look at campus, whether it's IIT or IIM, especially the business schools, about 50% of people tend to change their jobs within the first 12 months after they finish campus. And a lot of industry says they do that because they are job hoppers, this, that, etc. That is not true at all. That's not the reason. The actual reason, when you dig deep, and I've studied this deeply across Ahmedabad, Udaipur, XLRI, etc., is that placement season in a business school is a lottery. You have a dream job in your mind, but that company doesn't come. You have a dream job on your mind. It's like a T20 match. You're supposed to hit 3 sixes in an over. You can't hit it, full stop. You're supposed to take 2 wickets in the last over or give away 2 runs. It doesn't happen. So it's a lottery. Because it's a lottery, then you say, look, I didn't get the job I wanted. So now can I look around and in the next 1 year, change to something that I want? That's the reason that 50% of MBAs change jobs within the first year after campus. It's not that they want to hop, because placement is a lottery. And I think placement needs to change. That's my submission to you on that. Second, make or break. I think you must always join a company where you maximize 2 things. You're learning, okay, which is absolutely important, and the culture of the company is good. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that I must join a company which gives me the highest salary. I would actually tell you, join a company in your first job which gives you the highest learning, okay, and a very good culture. The multiplier on that 5 years later, 10 years later is humongous. And very few people recognize that, unfortunately, because everybody is in this catch of, let me get 10,000 rupees more and then, move on. That's what it is. Um, then I would say, where is the first job? Very critical. My experience, purely my experience, I don't have any empirical data to show this to you, Asha. It's my personal experience, is that I've noticed a direct correlation between cynics in an organization and the company or the first boss they had. I see a direct correlation. When they've had a very bad boss or a bad company they started in, they tend to be very cynical about life. And it takes a lot of effort to change their mindset. I've encountered many of them in my career in Hindustan Lever, in Nokia, as well as PepsiCo. And down to the wire, whenever I see a cynic, I ask him, okay, just tell me something about yourself. Whom did you work for? What happened, etc. And then you can trace it back. So if you have a bad boss as your first stint, a guy who adds no value to you, is constantly, bitching about the company, then that's a very bad start. And that's not a good first job. That's what I say.
Shiv, rewinding back to your college days, I remember you were the sports sec of the Students Association at that time, and very active in several games. You represented IMC in cricket, football, tennis. So one key question I have is, how difficult is it to, keep in touch with and pursue these interests once you start working? And, what should be that balance? Should people have other interests to complement their work life?
Yeah, great question, Balu. But I think you forgot hockey. Pradeep Sahadevan was the hockey captain. He'll be insulted if I don't say that I played for him. Hope he's not watching, okay? And the other things you forgot are things like Joka times and something in today's world with International Women's Day. I'll be really ashamed of saying that I was part of the RJTC, which I don't think any editor of I Am Calcutta can ever take ownership of that in today's world. And I must say, it was fun those days, but on reflection, maybe it was not the right thing to do. Okay, so sports and routine. When you're on campus, there's a very clear routine, Balu. You go to class, you come back, at 4:30, people will go to the basketball court or to the tennis court or to the football ground. It's a set routine. When you start work, there is no such routine. Okay, you have classmates of 100 in your batch and 100 in the next batch whom you can choose from and go and play. But at work, you can't put together 11 guys to do anything. Okay, you can't find somebody to go play tennis with. You can't tell people, okay, let's get together, 10 of us, and go for a run, or let's play cricket. It doesn't work. When you're a junior and even a middle manager, your time is not your time. You're pulled into many things, you're asked to do many things, and you end up with endless hours of work. So it's very difficult to find time for physical sport activity, almost next to difficult. But one of the challenges of young managers is that if you look at young managers when they finish from an institute, in the first 2 years, they tend to put on at least 20-30% extra weight. The reason they do that is they binge, they spend late nights, they don't exercise, and that rhythm completely goes off the rhythm they had in college. Okay, and I would actually warn, and that's what I warned in the book also, that take very good care of your health. Okay, whatever you can do, I think you should, do that. And I don't think you can do more than that, given the time constraints. If you're not physically fit, I don't think you'll be mentally alert in a meeting. That's my observation of a number of bosses, a number of colleagues, etc. I've seen many people who've spent late nights and parties or whatever it is, and next morning they're zoned out in a meeting. They're not able to contribute. So if you don't go fully fresh into the workplace almost every day with a spring in your step and a hope in your heart, you're not going to make a difference. So I think keeping physically fit is very important. Now, having said that, you only have 24 hours. You have so much work which occupies your life. You have to make sacrifices. Okay, I used to listen to music. I don't do that anymore. I used to play a lot of sport, as you said. Now I tend to run on a treadmill. That's all I can do. I don't watch movies. At whatever spare time I have, either I'm doing my mail or reading books or something like that. So your balance shifts in terms of your hobbies, co-curricular hobbies, extracurricular hobbies, shifts dramatically once you go past middle management. Okay, and you have to make a sacrifice. There is no choice. There is no alternative. And if somebody says, I want to party till 12 o'clock, I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to give you a story from what Nazir Hussain said about Brian Lara. He said Brian Lara went to a party, came back, and slept and got up at 6 o'clock, realized the cricket match was at 11 o'clock. He went and played a round of golf, came back at 9:30, 10. Okay, came into the dressing room, and then the first wicket fell in the first over. So Brian Lara put on his pads and went, and he scored 400. And so the story in Nazar Hussain says is only a genius like Lara can do it, but all of us need practice. Okay, so you can't just land up like Lara is my point. You have to sacrifice something. You have to practice your craft.
Yeah, thanks for that. Staying on cricket, I know that during your Nokia days, you were one of the prime sponsors of Calcutta Knight Riders. And tell us a little bit about your experience working with them, and specifically Shah Rukh Khan as the owner. What was it like? I mean, I know it's got nothing to do with the book, but it'd be nice to know.
Fantastic. You know, very few people know this. Till 2015, when PepsiCo, we terminated the contract with IPL as the title sponsor. From 2008 to 15, those 8 years, I must have been one of 5 people involved with IPL. Me, Sundar, the owners, that's it. Nobody else. Even Lalit Modi was not there. But IPL is a fantastic concept. And I said this then, and I will say it again right now. But for IPL, India, cricket would not be where it is. Very few people give it credit. But for IPL. And I said this right in the beginning. I said IPL has revolutionized cricket. It's brought in more women to watch. And it's made the Indian cricket boys fearless. Absolutely fearless. Krishnamacharya Shrikant, Chika, a good friend who lives on the Mahabalipuram High Road, he told me once that Shiv, Dale Steyn, the best bowler comes in the world. Our boys put their left leg out and hit it right over mid-wicket. They would never do that but for IPL. Okay, so IPL has just transformed the mindset. Now back to Nokia and IPL. We had an absolute crisis on our hands with the BL5C product recall on August 14, 2007. And when we had that crisis, we put down 12 things to say we need to address this crisis. Point number 12 was, if all else fails, let's get a celebrity to endorse the brand. Nokia had never used a celebrity in the world, ever. Nokia just shied away from celebrities. We did that. We resolved the crisis, but we had the budgets. So, and we got Shah Rukh to be the brand ambassador. I'd worked with him in Hindustan Lever. So I said, Shah Rukh, would you do this? He said, I use a Nokia phone, more than happy to do it. We did a great ad with him, which was a very popular ad about Shah Rukh and his 10 years with Nokia. I've spent 10 years. This phone has seen my child being born. I do this with my phone, etc. It was a great commercial, one of the most popular commercials. It went very well. Then Shah Rukh started KKR. He bid for it and he won the bid. Lalit Modi was trying to convince us in Nokia that we should be the title sponsors. And he actually told me, now these are the numbers, I can say it after 10 years or 13 years. At that point of time, the title sponsorship was going for $35 million. Lalit Modi called me. I was in New York that day for a meeting. And he said, Shiv, I'll give it to Nokia for $25 million because you have one of the best brands in the country. Okay. If you're willing to sign on, it's a deal. I said, look, we don't need awareness for this brand. So why would we want to be presenting sponsors of IPL? Then Shah Rukh said, hey, why don't you guys be presenting sponsor of KKR? And that's how the KKR thing happened. And again, sad story. First 2 years, KKR was a disaster. The first match set the tone. Brendan McCullum scored 100 and everybody thought KKR will win. KKR finished, I think, number 5 or 6. Second year, they finished last in South Africa. And when that was over, Shah Rukh actually called through his agent and said, I know the team has done badly. Nokia has taken a big hit in sponsoring us. I'm willing to give 2 days of my time free of cost. So I said, Shah Rukh, that's a very kind offer you make, but our deal is with the team. It has nothing to do with you. If the team has failed, it's failed. And that's the risk we've taken. So let's stay friends and we don't do this. We continued. Then they won in 2012. They won again in 2014. They're a consistently great team. But one of the things I really like about Shah Rukh is that he really gives his sponsors full value for the money. He always bats for his sponsors, always does. He goes the extra mile to ensure that the sponsors have got it right, number one. The second thing is a very bright guy, very bright, very humorous guy, very sharp. I'm absolutely certain, and I've said this many times over, if Shah Rukh had not been a film star, he would have been a CEO somewhere. Very bright guy, very, very talented guy, very quick on the uptake. You can never fox Shah Rukh. Amazing. And he taught me a lot of things. He's one of the guys I've done the maximum number of media conferences with, thanks to KKR. We used to do at least 5 every season. So I must have done some 40, 50 with him. He really taught me, when there's a battery of photographers, how do you look from one end to the other so that you're not clicked either in profile or on straight, etc. And how do you do that? These are all small tips, but only a master could do that. And he was fantastic.
So just switching subjects, you just mentioned the RJTC, which for the uninitiated among all of you here was a tradition in Joka and IMC, which would certainly not be tolerated today. But I think in that generation, everybody took it in the spirit it was intended to be in. But that actually leads to the next question, that in this age of social media, can you ever let your guard down? Do you have to think multiple times every time you open your mouth, decide where you're going or who you're seen with? How much has visibility changed you as a person or people around you? And finally, what does all this have to do with the importance of reputation and also authenticity?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And thank you for reminding me about RJTC to hang my head in shame. But anyway, social media is both a boon and a curse. It's a boon because you can network with anybody across the world. I cannot tell you, almost every day, I get 10 to 15 requests for connecting somebody or for a job or whatever it is. It's also a curse that if you don't know how to use it well, it's a problem. And young people certainly don't recognize that. And even some middle to senior managers also don't recognize that, unfortunately. I think the positives end there. The first thing to remember about social media and the digital world is that it does not have an erasable hard disk. Whatever you put in social media, remember, will be remembered for life. Okay, people will never let you forget it. So think many times over before you write whatever you want to write on social media, whether you're cursing a company, cursing somebody, whatever it is. Be very careful of the choice of your language and whatever you're doing and whomever you're hashtagging, etc. Let me give you my personal example. So Vinay Kamath is not here. In 2013, Vinay Kamath asked me to write an article on the Bharti Walmart split. I wrote the article for Business Line. I argued that it was bad and India would benefit from all the learning from modern trade like Walmart. And next day I was looking at the website of Hindu Business Line and looking at the comments. The first 21 comments were fine. The 22nd comment was very telling. It said, this is an article written by one MBA for other MBAs. Okay, so whatever your intent, somebody else sees it in a completely different manner. That at least was humorous and fun. The second one was even worse. I have a habit of summarizing books and I put it on LinkedIn, the summaries. I summarized Rajat Gupta's book, Mind Without Fear, ex-McKinsey CEO. And I put it on LinkedIn. I cannot tell you the amount of hate mail I got. People said, Shiv is an arbit guy, time pass guy. Why is he supporting this criminal? Okay, is he trying to sell the book for him, etc., etc. I've met Rajat Gupta once in my life in ISB when he was a director there and I'd gone to speak. I'd never met him in my life. People don't even know that, but people just trolled me and just bashed me left, right, and center. That didn't stop me from summarizing the next set of books. But all I'm telling you is people sometimes beyond anonymity, people are very brave when they're anonymous on social media. Okay, and sometimes just out of venting their feelings because you're on the opposite side, they say a number of things. Gaining trust in social media is very difficult. It's not easy. You have to be authentic. So for example, on my LinkedIn profile, anybody who posts a comment on religion, I just take the guy out. That's it. Number one. So you'll see my LinkedIn posts clear of that. Okay, anything to do with politics, out. I don't engage in that at all. And people send me a lot of books to say, will you read my book and summarize it? I don't do that. I summarize books which I believe the audience will want. So I'm not a peddler of books. So I try to keep a certain standard of the books I do. So you can only build, trust, Asha, if you're authentic. And the only thing I'll tell you always is stay authentic. If you ever are posting something which is tough or nasty or critical, okay, step back for 5 minutes, reflect on it and ask yourself, should I really do this? And many times that mood will pass and you can junk it. Okay, but once you post, You can't pull it back. Remember that. Once you post, it's done and dusted. So stay authentic if you really want trust in the social world.
There was a former boss of mine who insisted on what he called the 24-hour test, especially if there was an email or anything that made you angry. He says, sleep on it.
Yeah.
Or if you can give it 24 hours, do that before you answer, because whatever you say before that will come back to bite you in the behind. But staying on, as I said, non-typical subjects not typically covered in the book, what about the importance of friendships as you progress in life and your career? Are people doomed to go through their careers seeing their peers as competition? How can you stay friends without letting relative success or failure get in the way? Can you just stay true friends, not have to worry about the fact that person A is a CEO, person B might have chosen to do something else, and person C somehow just didn't get to where he or she wanted to go?
Yeah, so I would say that, you should never see your peers as competition. That I think is wrong, and I'll explain why. Okay. Most people don't see peers as competition when they are in junior management, because most people believe that they will get their due at the same time as somebody else. And even as far as middle management, people don't see each other as competitors, but they start seeing each other as competitors beyond middle management because the pyramid gets steeper. Okay, that's when it really happens, Asha. Sometimes the company pits people against each other, and that's a bad company to work in, when a company puts one against the other. Sometimes bosses put one against the other. Okay, for example, when I was in Hindustan Lever, we had a boss in one of the divisions I worked in who used to perennially put his management team one against the other. And for 6 months, it was absolute hell. So one day, a bunch of us, 3-4 of us who used to report to him, we got together and said, hey, what are we doing this for? We want this company to succeed. We want the business to succeed. Why the hell are we scrapping with each other? So after that, we entered into a pact between the 4 of us. We said, before every management team meeting, which we used to have once a month, we said the previous night, the 4 of us will go out for dinner, we'll resolve all the issues, and then go into the meeting fresh next day. We did that systematically for the next year. The business results improved. The boss recognized that he could not play one against the other. But more important, we became damn good friends. And even till today, we stay very good friends. People like you, Ballu, Asha, I've stayed with friends with you for long. And that's the only way to be. The mistake people make with friends and network is we tend to reach out when we need help. That's not a network. Okay, that's a deal. Can you help me, Ballu, with this? That's a deal. It's not a network. So what you have to do systematically from the time you start work is to build your network, your colleagues, your ecosystem, everybody. I've built enormous network with my competitors too, not just in the company itself. And when you really need it, that network will back you. Okay, don't start a network or a relationship saying it is a quid pro quo. I give you something, you give me something. That type of network never works. That's what my personal experience is there. And the last point, why people see peers as competitors or whatever, is because most people tend to work in life at a relative level. So I am sitting next to you and I say, Asha is running at 40 kilometers an hour. Let me run at 50. I'm better than her. Because my reference point in my career is I need to be better than somebody who's at the next table. That's a lose-lose equation. Why? 5 years from now, I go for an interview or I go to the industry and I meet Ballu, who's been running at 80 kilometers per hour. Suddenly, I'm physically unfit because of I have benchmarked to running at 45 and 50. And then I say, my God, game's up. What have I done with my career? So my submission to you, if you really want to be friends with your colleagues, aim to be the best absolute. If you're a sales manager, try to be the best sales manager. You're a brand manager, try to be the best brand manager. You're a marketing manager, try to be the best at it. You're a supply chain manager, be the best at it. If you're the best at it, you will never fight at a relative level. Okay. And I want to give you a story of how much sacrifice is needed if you want to be the best. Gary Kirsten and Paddy Upton became coaches of the Indian team for 2011. When they came here, they said, the Indian stars are stars. We can't teach them what to do. These are big guys. So the first thing they said was, as coaches, practice is optional. We will not have practice sessions. Practice is optional. But if you want to practice, hey, if you want to practice Yuvraj, tell us what you want to practice. Do you want to practice the cover drive? Do you want to practice the straight drive? Do you want to practice the hook? So we'll prepare. Okay. So they gave this optional. And then Paddy Upton said this. He said, the guy who asked for the most practice, believe it or not, was Sachin Tendulkar. Nobody else. Now, ask yourself the question based on what I just told you. That guy, being the best batsman after 23 years in Test cricket and international cricket, still wants to do very well. He's benching himself against an absolute best. He's not saying I need to be better than the next guy. So that's the mindset needed if you don't want to treat your colleagues as competitors. Be the very best. And for the very best, the only thing which can stop you guys is bad luck. And it can happen to anybody. Nokia was bad luck, full stop. Happened, so what? Nothing wrong. But if you try to be the absolute best, I guarantee you, you'll have a good career.
Thank you, Shiv. Wonderful messages right there. So you talked about a boss of yours sometime during the last answer. And my next question segues into that. How, I mean, a lot of people in their lives work with different types of bosses. And the challenge really is, supplementing and complementing your boss so that together you form a crack team, so to speak. So your thoughts on it, especially in terms of how to handle a bad boss. One is to quit and move away, but is there any other way?
Okay. One of the most often asked questions wherever I go across the world, not just here in India, is one, how do I manage my career? Obvious question. But second is, how do I handle a bad boss? Believe it or not. That's the second most question. I haven't talked about it in this book, but maybe one day I'll write about it. It's a huge dilemma. You can never choose the boss, you're going to work for, etc. It's just not there. I've had my share of bad bosses. There's no, denying that. However, once you think about it, the bad boss is there for a reason. See, whether you like it or not, the company has employed him. Whether you like it or not, the company has promoted him. They put him in that position of, whatever influence he has, good or bad. So there are many bad bosses around, and you just need to watch out for them. Look at a very simple equation, 2x2 matrix, which is what most MBAs use as staple diet. Look at on one axis, your strengths and your weaknesses, and on the other axis, the boss's strength and your weaknesses. Think of the box where your strength is the boss's strength. That's a loose box because your boss will always think that he's better than you on that strength. He will never say that he's weaker than you. Then go to the other box where your strength is your boss's weakness. You have to be very careful there. How do you coach the boss without meaning to coach him? Okay, and you'll find that situation. The next box is where you have a weakness, which is your boss's strength, which is a fantastic box to be in. Okay, because you can really learn from your boss. You can genuinely, learn from him and genuinely tell him you're damn good at this. And the last box is your weakness and the boss's weakness are the same. Then the company is doomed because both of you are contributing something, bad to the company. Okay, that's the way I really want you to think about it. The worst boss to work for is an insecure and incompetent boss. And I've had a few of them. I think I've had 15, 16 bosses in my career. There are 2-3 guys, absolutely incompetent and insecure. What are the signals they give you? I had a boss, if I sent him a 3-paragraph mail on something, he will say, can you summarize it and send it to me? And I'd say, what the hell is the company paying you for? If you send him one sentence, he'll say, summarize it and send it to me. Basically, these are lazy guys. They just haven't focused on getting what is right. Okay. And the only way, I think, you have to be at your best. Remember, when you work for a bad boss, if you're good, the bad boss will always try and find negatives in your approach. So you cannot give him the pleasure of finding something wrong with you. Okay, so you have to work doubly hard. That is a challenge. However, in today's age, what I find is when people are tough, when a boss is tough, young people don't like it. The most I have learned is when I've had tough bosses. I must admit that. Because a tough boss makes you think, which is a huge value. Because the most critical skill we need is critical thinking. And when a tough boss makes you think, you should actually reward him. You should say, thank you for making me think. But we don't take that in our stride. We want boss to be nice to us. We want him to be kind to us. We want him to give us lots of shabashi and say, you're a fantastic guy. But the best bosses in my career have been tough bosses, but fair bosses. Okay, if you can see that your boss is tough but fair, work for him and walk behind him.
Flipping the question over, right? I mean, as a boss, you have different types of subordinates. And, how quick should one label a subordinate as competent, incompetent, or whatever? And how do you deal with somebody you feel is not quite up to the mark as a subordinate? Do you really take to coaching and pull them up, or do you fire them? Various options. So what would your, what would be the right choice?
A tough question. I've had many bad subordinates. I've been a general manager for eons. I've had many, many bad subordinates. What are the common things that I've noticed about bad subordinates? They tend to place themselves higher than their team. That's the first signal I always look for. Okay, they will say, I'm A+, my team is actually a bunch of A- guys. That's the first signal that this guy is way above his league. Okay, he thinks of himself as a superstar. That's the first one. Second one is when the guy has a very poor value system. When the guy cannot give credit to people. There are some people who are so cussed, they cannot give credit to their team. They want all the appropriation of credit only at their desk. The third type of bad subordinate is somebody who actively tells his people, don't send information up beyond me, which is even worse. So the only way I have found to deal with this when I've had bad subordinates is to actually engage with people below him in a direct, open manner, clarify my expectations and tell them what I clearly want and I don't want. That's all you can do. Okay, that's the thing. And if the bad subordinate performs well, but has bad values, you tolerate him. If he performs badly, then you have no choice but to give up on him. I would say, look, I don't think it works. The other side is people who are very good value system, genuine, but are not coping in the job. Okay, those are the people, to your question, that you can coach. Okay, you can tell them, hey, have you thought about this? Maybe this capability, maybe you need this coach, or you need to do this, or you can go for a training program, etc., etc. Those are people you need to nurture. But the one condition I always look for, Ballu, is this guy or girl a company man? If the person is a company man, back him. Company man means putting the company first ahead of everything else. That's the kind of subordinate you need in a company.
It has really been all about making the right choices. In fact, starting from the introduction right up to chapter 10. Now, can we talk a bit about wrong choices? I mean, what about people might have made the wrong choices for various reasons? There might have been certain instances where they didn't have the right advice. They thought they were making the right decision. It turned out to be wrong. So do you make peace with those wrong choices? Or do you scurry around like mad trying to get back on track?
Yeah, great question. Again, I think all of us make wrong choices. I've made wrong choices. Everybody does it. It's natural. But I think the moment you make a wrong choice, if you recognize it's a wrong choice, I think it's better to cut your losses. Okay, John Harvey Jones, the CEO of ICI, I remember reading his book. He said, the moment you see something is wrong in a company or whatever it is, cut your loss fast, because it doesn't get better with time. So cut your losses. So what are the type of wrong choices that people make? Very early in life, one of the big wrong choices people pick is debt. Okay, EMI. Okay, they pick EMI and suddenly they see that their EMI is 25% of take-home salary. Okay, they get scared. Then they try to get a job with 10,000 rupees more because they want to make the 25%, 10% at the earliest. So being in debt is one of the biggest mistakes or a wrong choice which people make. Why do they do that? Hurried aspiration. They want the next big holiday because they've seen their friends on Facebook. They want the next big car. They want the next big electronic gadget, etc. And they're in debt up to their eyeballs, which is very bad. That's a big, serious one. The second wrong choice people make is setting an artificial target. I want to be a VP by the time I'm 40. I want to be a CEO by the time I'm 42 or whatever it is. I want to earn 1 crore of rupees by the time I'm X or Y or Z. I saw one of my bosses in Hindustan Lever who said, who quit at 40. So then I asked him, why are you quitting? He said, I want to be a VP by the time I'm 40. This company has come. It was a small company. And this guy was doing well. He had a big job. And he went and joined that company. Within 2 years, that company got sold to somebody else. He went to another smaller company. In 4 years' time, he didn't have a job. And he became a consultant. Okay. And then he's been on that consultant circuit all through his career after that. So these are the mistakes that people tend to make. And you really have to be extremely careful. If you made a wrong choice, say sorry, cut your loss, come back. I think that's far better. And, the best example I'll give you is Nokia, 2013. I think all of us recognize that Nokia didn't have a future. And all of us had worked very hard to build the company from $300 million to $4 billion and activity from India to 10, etc. All of us left Nokia. I was the last of the senior managers to leave. But the great thing is everybody who left Nokia showed resilience and came back. None of us crumbled. We maybe stayed 1 year extra. I think I stayed an extra year or 18 months out of pure emotion, which some people said was a wrong choice. But that was my commitment to the company. So you have to, have the resilience and say, yes, I made a wrong choice. Doesn't matter. Let me come back to the mainstream. Have the courage to admit it and move forward.
And would you say that for people even at a much more junior level, would potential employers look kindly at someone who's actually admitted to having made the wrong choice?
Absolutely. I think, the great thing about today is that people need talented people in their company. We have too many people, but very little quality. So people always want the best in the company. So if you're a talented person, you're top of the heap and you're consistently learning, why won't people want you? Ask that question.
So let's get to something about you now. Right through your book, you have talked with great fondness of mentors like Ram Charan, for example. Is that a role you see in your future? I mean, we all know of your commitment to being an educator, starting with very, very early in your career. So I think even for the next several years, young managers are going to get the benefit of your experience and knowledge. But do you see yourself as a mentor to the next generation of CEOs or people at the board level?
Yeah. So, mentorship is a funny thing. I always thought that you went and chose a mentor. Suppose I wanted Captain as a mentor. I just went to him and said, okay, be my mentor. Never works like that. Mentors pick you. You cannot pick a mentor. A mentor picks you when you are showing commitment to the company, commitment to the values of the company, and you show a certain degree of excellence in whatever you're trying to do. Then a mentor picks you. Why is that? It is so because the mentor doesn't want his choice to go wrong. If he picks the wrong person, then they don't want to be blamed for the wrong choice. So a mentor picks you. Ram Charan, I first encountered him in 1996 when he came to teach us at the Unilever General Manager's course in 4 Acres, UK. And he's been my mentor ever since. I've kept in touch with him. A mentor tells you the toughest things, which is in your interest. I remember in 2012, December, I was flying to Delhi from Dubai. I bumped into Ram Charan in the airport. So he said, okay, let's sit down and have dinner. And he said, Shiv, I think you need to leave Nokia. It has no future. I was absolutely stunned. It's the first time anybody had told me. It's like somebody telling me you're sacked. I said, but why are you saying that? He says, look, I know Silicon Valley. I know what Apple's going to do. You have no chance. It's time that you moved on. And you have a career ahead of you, maximize it. Now imagine only a mentor who has your best interests at heart will tell you that. Nobody else will tell you that. Okay, so I think value the mentors you have. If you do good work, I think mentors will automatically pick you.
Wonderful, Shiv. Just past the top of the hour. Thank you for this formal section of interaction. We just loved it. Now, I think Group Captain Vijay Kumar has to step in now to orchestrate the Q&A from the audience.
Yeah, thank you.
Group Captain, over to you.
Thank you, Shiv, for the fascinating evening. Everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry? Yes. We have over 1,600 viewers watching the program live. So
Thank you.
The recording will be kept. It will go to a couple of more thousands. Thank you so much. That's a pull for us. We have a number of questions. Number of questions from Zoom, as well as I got questions from YouTube and Facebook. The choice is the people who are sitting here, hybrid, they come here. The first choice we'll give to them to ask the questions. And the first choice I have to give to Chairman Board of Governors, otherwise I'll be in trouble. Mr. Mali, please your question.
Thanks. Very fundamental question. How important is an MBA? Basically, okay. And what is its relevance? Because you have people who work for 2-3 years in tech, 5-6 years in tech, and do a senior 1-year management course and come back disillusioned because they go back to the same job sometimes. And the generalist was a specialist because an MBA is seen as a generalist course. This is something which is I think watching students go through this dilemma in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's a whole system, but the whole system will change. One of the big shifts which I am seeing right now, thanks to EdTech, is an emphasis on skills as opposed to a degree. In the past, India has valued degrees. I think now we are valuing skills more. Take coding for an example. Nobody is bothered whether you come from a Punjab university